you, Molly. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So yeah, it's a family business. My grandfather in the 1920s bought the wharf where we are at right now, in Gloucester Harbor, and he unloaded fishing boats. He was a fisherman back, way back on the schooners even, and then bought a fish company and was doing fish, and then he started selling fuel oil to the fishermen. And this guy had he's from Sicily, English second language, and he started selling fuel oil to the fishermen and realized quickly that he was making more money selling fuel oil, so ended up going into the home heating business. And my dad had a seafood company. He was also a fisherman for years, and he didn't like being at sea all the time. My older brother was calling, his father-in-law dad when he would come in from fishing. And he said, I really want a seafood wharf, and I want to start selling fish and have a shore job. So in 1965, the city of Gloucester took that property by eminent domain to put our Coast Guard station. So he was forced out of there, and he asked my grandfather, his father-in-law, do you have any ideas of where to build? And he said, I'll sell you my wharf, and I'm just going to go into the home heating, business. So my dad, I think, had an 8th grade education. So these are just hardworking entrepreneurs that are always thinking of the next step and ways to improve. And so in 1965, he started Ocean Crest Seafoods, and we handled a lot of fish, a lot of whiting. We had the 7 Seas brand of whiting. And the salad dressing people actually bought the rights to that name, 7 Seas, from my dad and my uncle. But in the 80s, and we were unloading a lot of fish, and there was a huge amount of fish coming across our docks in the 80s. And there was a company in Gloucester called the D-Hide, and they took the fish curry, the fish remains, and they made pet food. And when they went out of business, we were forced to pay fishermen to take the gurry back out to sea. And, as you know, when you fillet a fish, like the ground fish, 60 to 70% is left over. Only 30, 40% is the fillet that people eat. So we had a huge amount of gurry being brought back out to sea and dumped in the ocean. And it was expensive. It was bad for the environment. As it decomposed, it sucked the oxygen out of the water and created a dead zone. And it was just really wasteful. And we knew, it made good fertilizer from, you learn in school about the Indians doing it. And all the Gloucester fishermen always had the best tomatoes in the city because they would bury the fish remains in their garden. So he had the foresight, and I always say he had the guts to go into the fertilizer business. And it turned out to be, the best decision he could have ever made, because trying to make a living off of 30 to 40% of the fish, we'd have been out of business by now with all the huge restrictions the government has put on the fishermen. So in the 80s, we started, we got together with the University of Massachusetts Marine Station, and they're the ones that helped us develop the process to liquefy it, stabilize it. So now we're utilizing 100% of the fish by turning the rest into organic fertilizer. And so we just grind it up, and then the hydrolyzing tanks liquefy it, and then we stabilize it so it won't rot, and we screen it so it won't clog sprayers. And we were just selling it in bulk to farms. But then we realized, I came on board in the late 80s, early 90s, and I was like, we really should be bottling this, because I was a consumer looking for fertilizer for my garden, and all I saw was Miracle Grow in the stores. I'm like, I don't want to put chemicals on things I'm growing. So I talked my dad into bottling it, which really kind of created a job for me too, into doing that part. And so he's like, yeah, sure, take the ball and run with it. And that's what, I've been doing ever since. What's 30 years or so, I guess now. But we started with just the fish fertilizer, and then you go to the garden distributors, and they're like, we're not going to pick up your line for one product. So then we started diversifying into seaweed, fish and seaweed. And now we went into dry crab and lobster shell, another way to utilize 100% of the crab and lobsters and not waste any. And it's got great calcium. It makes great fertilizer. It's high in something called chitin, which helps with a lot of insect damage and disease. So products from the ocean, like the whole world was under ocean water at one time. They found fish fossils on the top of Mount Everest. So you got to think maybe this is why it works so well. All the minerals that were in the soil over time with erosion and, just kind of demineralized and loses a lot of those natural nutrients. So you put the fish fertilizer on there, some seaweed, crab and lobster, it just goes crazy and it works fantastic. So we've done nothing but grow ever since then. And we've expanded into, like, we have a tomato and veg, a rose and flowering, a turf formula, lawn starter. We're micronizing the crab right now and lobster into this fine powder that stays in suspension. So we got a liquid crab and lobster now. So we're continuously evolving. My son's with the company now. He's the 4th generation, and he's running the warehouse. He's making all the specialty products. So we have like 16 or so family members in the business, and it's kept us all in business. We wouldn't, if you didn't diversify and keep doing all these new ideas, we'd never be still alive. So I think anything you can do to keep up with the times. And then when the pandemic hit, everybody wants to grow their own food. So they're really, and it had a lot of silver linings. And one was local, sustainable. People are worried about food security. They want to buy local fish. They want to use organic fertilizer. They want to grow their own food. And then with cannabis becoming legal in so many places, we have all those growers that love our product. So there's just a lot of reasons that we've been growing all the time, and we keep hiring new people and expanding. We do sell to Hawaii. We sell to the Kauai golf course and the Plantation golf course, and those are PGA courses. And we're shipping them fish fertilizer all the way from Gloucester. It just works fantastic. So we have international customers. We're loading containers all over to different countries even. So it's just really expanded. And we still have a seafood business. We sell a lot of the local restaurants in the North Shore here. And we do sell to hospitals actually in Boston. We ship fish up there every day. So we're keeping the fish going because of the fertilizer, I think, at this point, but the two are a really good synergy and work great together. We couldn't have one without the other. So they work great together, and we're keeping a lot of family and other people in the town employed. So it's kind of a good success story with a lot of people without degrees, just hard work and ambition and foresight, and guts to take on new projects and step into the unknown and spend money to invest in these ideas that luckily for us have really worked out well.